Solution. Here it is. It's Rebecca Lurie, the Program Director at Community and Worker Ownership Project at CUNY School of Labor and Urban Studies, and Anh-Thu Nguyen, the Director of Strategic Partnerships at the Democracy at Work Institute. Please welcome them with a round of applause.
Hi, everybody. Future is cooperative.
It's cooperative.
And here's our little signature. So I know many of you, Rebecca Lurie, currently at the CUNY School of Labor and Urban Studies. I'm going to speak today on how cooperatives are a solution for the future. And really, I want to say in many ways, cooperatives are of the past. So I want to offer a land acknowledgement to the Lenape people here and now. This, with the holiday we just had this past week, I want to offer recognition to the Lenape and the Haudenosaunee people who recognize that the indigenous people of this region were skilled in cultivating processes that were inclusive and cooperative with all beings. So thanks be to them. Now let me turn to what we face today. All these pressures come raining down on working people, and you can just randomly choose any you see on the slide. I will not be reading my slides. There is trauma from it all. So when serving those facing trauma based on all and any of these hardships, how can we help? I suggest the future is cooperative. So enter workforce development with a goal to train and place people into good jobs or upgrade their employment. We aim for good jobs, quality jobs. And here I refer to the Aspen Institute, who just published this report on a working definition of good jobs, highlighting economic stability, economic mobility, and equity, respect, and voice at work. And Matthew Klein from Robin Hood referenced this earlier today as well. So I want to suggest that people look at this and see what we mean when we want to place people and help people achieve good jobs. Much can be said here, but I will underscore an important point, that having respect and a voice at work is significant. I offer a shout out to the revival of the union movement today, and those activists, look at Amazon and Starbucks, workers who use voice and collective power to raise the bar for that good job. So today, we see a trend with 40% of the workforce in America are self-employed. And whether that's truly self-employment or misclassification of their work, I will leave that for a different conference. School of Labor, I must, and we can pay attention to that. But suffice to say, when people are not employed by a company that puts them on payroll, they face other challenges for their income. There may be a joy to being an entrepreneur, but the challenges abound. With this high rate of becoming self-employed, what happens to folks who go through our programs who may then become entrepreneurs or self-employed? How can we help these workers, and what additional skills might we contribute in workforce development? Another fact impacting small businesses is that there are not enough buyers for succession planning, and selling a business to the workers becoming cooperatively owned is a layoff aversion strategy we should keep our eyes on and be part of. Okay, so actually, Angie Camus spoke about this in an earlier panel. Cooperative businesses, people need business skills. They need advocacy skills, organizing skills, and cooperative skills. And these are not skills we traditionally teach in workforce development. This is far beyond soft skills. They are skills that can be brought into our workforce development programs in order to help folks be successful in possibilities that might not be that secure first job. So there are 7 principles to cooperatives, and this is internationally known from the International Cooperative Alliance. Businesses that run this way follow these seven principles. And without getting into them in detail, we can see membership, democracy, autonomy, education, and concern for community as important values that people exert when they are running their businesses as cooperatives. I draw your attention to Principle 5, education, training, and information. This is a commitment to workforce development already embedded in the philosophy of what it takes to be a good cooperative business. This suggests for members education before, during, and after becoming a cooperative business. It is career exploration, skills for job seekers, training for program graduates who may want to take this cooperative direction, and training for incumbent workers as well. We all recognize the importance of continuing education, and education that is needed is already in our social lexicon. These are life skills applied to cooperative businesses. So we say our solution: incorporate cooperative skills, education, and training wherever we can. I will add a shameless plug here because at the CUNY School of Labor and Urban Studies, we now have a graduate program of 4 sequence courses aimed to help mid-career people, many like yourselves, to learn what and how to incorporate community and worker ownership strategies into our broader efforts. I brought a flyer. If anybody wants it, you can find me after or reach out to me. But many of us are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs and highlight self-actualization as the highest to achieve, with love and belonging along the pathway to get you there. Cooperatives include belonging and message to all: you are not alone. Healthy teamwork invites active listening and deep compassion, traits required to heal from trauma that can promote work to be a place where some repairing can occur. The pandemic has shined a light on the ancient and indigenous practices we now refer to as mutual aid. Cooperative enterprises perform like mutual aid, where those who come together work together to find and create solutions to their economic life together. Although this might look like kindness at work, it can also be the work that is accomplishing 2 things at once. It's bringing people closer to their self-actualization and collective power, and helping them get decent income in their pocket, expanding their own capacities to build wealth. I'm going to turn the mic over to Anh-Thu, and she's going to explain some of how this has worked with Radiate Consulting.
Thanks, Rebecca. So I'm going to speak a little to what we've been doing at Democracy at Work Institute on worker cooperatives for people who are facing barriers to work. And it's basically, to Rebecca's point, about 40% of our workforce not working in a traditional employment relationship, but rather self-employed as independent contractors, precarious workers, contingent workers, and so forth. We in 2018, 2019 piloted with the CUNY Institute of Mexican Studies a rapid response cooperative, basically, which is a worker cooperative business, worker owned, democratically managed, of CUNY graduates who had been recipients of a scholarship, the Beca Scholarship for immigrant students. And it's immigrants especially are in a space of precarity with work, especially if you're mixed status. And that's the reason why so many immigrants end up being self-employed or starting their own businesses, right? Like, you start a business because you don't get into that workforce pathway. You have to figure it out yourself. And so what we did in partnership with the Institute of Mexican Studies was set up a worker cooperative called Radiate Consulting. And it was our first pilot. The focus was on individuals who already had pathways to work opportunities, but couldn't be employed by those workplaces. And so they were able to start a professional services cooperative providing administrative services, operations, interpretation, translation, all these kinds of things that keep our social services running in the city, especially in immigrant communities, and doing it as owners of their business. So what does that mean? It's a business-to-business relationship between the cooperative business and whoever's contracting with them. The client contracts with the business. The individuals who otherwise would be working as 1099s would be working as contractors with limited amounts of protections. They're compensated as owners. They're building their own business and they're developing their business. And then the cooperative business itself has a back office component to it that actually facilitates invoicing. Like, if you remember anybody who started work, their first job, and as an employee, there's so many things that you don't have to do. Like, you don't have to invoice clients. You don't have to worry about insurance. You don't have to worry about all these like paying your taxes, right? Like if you're a consultant, when you start doing it for the first time, you realize actually there's so many different things you have to do just to basically stay afloat and legally do your work. So with this cooperative model, individuals who are just coming into the workforce for the first time have this covered for them. That's paid out of their invoices. So that's a little bit of how that works. So we've been able to successfully pilot that with Institute of Mexican Studies, and now we're working with CUNY John Jay Immigrant Student Success Center to launch a second one with graduates there in the coming year. So that's an example of how we can facilitate these kinds of cooperatives and be a little bit of a transition for students and graduates into the workforce. Pass it back to Rebecca.
Thanks, Anh-Thu. Very, very hard in 8 minutes to tell you all about what we want people to know, but suffice to say that there's other ways that people can use this entrepreneurial spirit or the self-employment or consulting space that actually is cooperative, and you do it together and you start learning skills together. There are a number of organizations now in New York City doing this training, including what I had mentioned at the CUNY School of Labor and Urban Studies, where we have this 4-course graduate course meant for folks like you to take it to scale. And Democracy at Work Institute does this work nationally with education with the School of Democratic Management. So take it on, talk to us, figure out how we can integrate it into our workforce solutions. Thank you.